So before we begin, I'd like to give you an introduction to the Assembly and to our wonderful speaker today. So the Assembly, we are a makerspace and a smart lab based out of In5. We have been founded in 2014, and for the past 8 years we've held almost 350 free workshops. And now they are in a variety of different categories, but the three main ones are HAP, which includes embedded systems, IoT, and the usage of hardware devices like Raspberry Pi and Arduinos, which we provide for the attendees, so you have a kit that you work with. Then we also have code, where we focus on software, such as we work with APIs, frameworks, apps, and for these workshops you only need to bring your laptop and your code together. Now we also have data science, where we focus on artificial intelligence, machine learning, but overall our topics cover IoT, robotics, 3D printing, AR, VR, cloud computing, and so much more. Our audience members are students, they are professionals, they're entrepreneurs, because we want to focus on smart technology and practical applications, and we want to help you learn something new, build something new, or just expand on your already existing knowledge. Hi. Now, you can find us on our social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Make Smart Things, which is also our mission statement. And you can check out our live workshops. So we're actually streaming this right now on YouTube, and you can find it on our website as well on theassembly.ae. So today we have our wonderful speaker, Rami Asaf, who's a co-founder and CEO of Booney, a UAE-based tech company that empowers businesses to sell with cCommerce. After graduating from the University of California, Riverside, he began his career working in internet-based companies across the US and MENA. He gained experience working in venture capitals as an investor, having worked at MEVP and HBT Ventures. Today, he'll discuss the evolving state of commerce and how cCommerce fits into it. Without further ado, please welcome our speaker.
Thank you. All right, good morning, guys here in the room and joining remotely. It's a real privilege for me to be here, and I'll take this as an honor because there's a lot of things you guys could be doing on a Saturday morning, and you guys chose to be here. You could have been doing something fun, you could have been doing nothing at all, but you guys chose to spend some time to learn because you have some hunger and you want to get some more information and knowledge, and that's to empower yourselves. And I'll do my best to impart some wisdom for you guys that you can take with you today, and hopefully I can accomplish that. Okay, so to introduce myself, I'm Rami. I'm a co-founder and CEO of the company Booney. Maybe you've probably never heard of it. We started in 2016, and you know, I'm an entrepreneur, and I was inspired to start this company because of an experience I had at home with my wife, who had wanted to start her own business, and she wanted to sell hats, and she wanted to do that online. This was in early 2016, late 2015, and I asked her if I could be of assistance. Can I help you set up an e-commerce website? And she said, no, we don't need that right now. We're just going to put our hats on Instagram, and if people want to buy them, they can DM us or send us a WhatsApp and we'll figure it out. And I thought that was a weird idea. And after a few weeks of her starting this, she was selling a lot of hats. And my living room was filled with hats that she was getting orders for, all through WhatsApp. And I thought that was interesting, and it sparked this idea that, oh, wait a minute, we're at this interesting turning point where the world of messaging and the messaging apps we use is converging with commerce and the way people conduct business. And there must be something there's something to it. And that space, that convergence between messaging and commerce, we call that cCommerce. Does anyone know what the C in cCommerce stands for? Okay, how did you know that? Okay. You know, they asked Steve Jobs before, what does the I in iPhone stand for? Do you know what the I in iPhone stands for? So there's no answer. They say it's internet or individual or interactive or all these like I words, and so they just call it iPhone or iTunes or whatever. So similarly, C in cCommerce it can have multiple meanings. It could be chat commerce, communication commerce, curated commerce, concierge-driven commerce, customer-centric commerce. There's all these things, but they're all connected, right? So we call it connected commerce. You're a good student. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about our company. We're based here. We started in Dubai, not far from here, just a couple clicks down the road. And we've been working in this cCommerce space for close to 6 years. We produce our own technology. We write code. We have a development team. It's all proprietary, in-house built. We've written something like 13 or 14 million lines of code today. So there's a lot of work that's gone into this. And we also provide a managed payment service, because when people do commerce online, they also need to manage their payments that are to facilitate their transactions. So those are the two legs of our business. We were incubated by Facebook, back when it was called Facebook, before Meta, and before it was controversial. And we spent about 6 months there in Menlo Park, kind of understanding the roadmaps of these giants like Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, and their views around the future of this space. And it was like an interesting exchange. We learned a lot, and we were more equipped, let's say, to understand the dynamics and what we wanted to focus on. We've raised roughly $15 million from venture capitalists and regional and international investors. We serve today approaching 6,000 merchants, okay, and that's across UAE, Saudi, Egypt, and Jordan. The team is 45 people in those markets. So that's a little bit about the company. So let's talk about what's going on in the world. The way we think about business to consumer channels, like what channels are available for you to go to market. You could do online or offline, right? But does that capture everything? Like, what does online and offline mean, and what are all these things? So the way that we see it is, these mobile phones we all have today were not so prevalent in the mid-2000s, but now they are, and now everyone's on their phone all the time. I'm shocked to see no one's on their phone at this moment, but usually people are on their phones. And they're usually spending their time on WhatsApp, YouTube, Be Real. Do you know about that one? That's the next one coming up. Instagram, TikTok, right? To the tune of about 4 hours a day now. That's interesting. That's something new and different. There are 47 million businesses registered on WhatsApp today. There are 400 million businesses leveraging Facebook and Instagram. We're not talking about Snapchat and TikTok and all that yet. So that's where the consumer time spend is mostly today. That's where their eyeballs are, that's where they're paying attention, and that's leading us to some interesting stats and dynamics that are happening in the market. If you send an email today, as a commercial email, like to a large audience, you will likely receive a 10% open rate. For those familiar with email marketing. Email marketing is so prevalent, but it's not that wonderful in terms of effectiveness. It's so scalable and easy to send emails that what happens is, to the consumer, it becomes a very noisy channel. So let me ask you a question. How many unread WhatsApps do you have in your phone right now? Okay, how many unread emails do you have?
I check
Okay. Anyone else? How many unread WhatsApps do you have in your phone right now?
Zero, maybe one.
How many unread emails do you have?
Maybe 5.
Oh, that's pretty good. But you're on top of it. You guys see where I'm going, right? Like, it's the WhatsApp channel that we use, especially in this market and many emerging markets. It's something we're really paying attention to, right? We as individuals, as consumers. And usually you're going to see about a 98% open rate on that channel, okay? Unless someone's trying to ignore you, they're going to see your WhatsApp and open it. Whereas email has gone stale a little bit. What we also know, and this is from our proprietary research, is 87% of shoppers say that they make a buying decision based on social factors like social proof and what they hear or see the brand doing on social media. It's a factor, it's real. 70% of shoppers say they would only engage with a brand that caters to them some level of personalization, meaning appears to be personal with them and know them and doesn't treat them like a generic customer, especially when doing marketing. 53% of shoppers say that they would rather buy from brands or companies that are available and receptive to them via chat. Because think about it, if you're going to spend money and you have a question and you want to chat with somebody, but they don't have time to chat with you, it's not a very good feeling, right? You don't feel like you want to interact or buy from that brand. It doesn't feel good. So these are the trends that we're seeing. Now, e-commerce as a concept started circa 1994. Pre-social media, it was built in an era, more of a Web 1.0 era, where it wasn't built to accommodate for these changing dynamics of the industry, of how people spend their time. That's an opportunity today that we capitalize on as a business, and that you guys can learn how to capitalize on and leverage and understand better. So let's slow down for a second. Imagine ourselves 1,000 years ago. How do you do business 1,000 years ago? There's no internet, there's no nothing, right? So the only way you could possibly do a transaction is by meeting somebody. Maybe it's at the caravan at the once a year event that you have to travel to, and you meet someone from another place or another land, you build a rapport with them, build trust with them, you exchange goods and exchange money. That's a pure face-to-face experience. There was no other way to do it for millennia. Okay? And that speaks to the human nature when it comes to how business generally gets done. You usually don't make significant buying decisions without having some human interaction in the middle. This is part of the human experience. Technology came and said, hey, we can enhance that face-to-face mode of commerce. We'll build a point-of-sale machine. We can build these terminals that record the transaction, but nonetheless, it's a face-to-face transaction. Around 1994, Jeff Bezos said, hey, I have an idea. What if we eliminate one of these out of the equation, and now people will just interact with a website if they want to buy anything? That's the removal of one of the players, like we lost an element of the equation. Now it's just a human to website experience. And that's what e-commerce is. Because the seller doesn't have to be present anymore. I'll put my goods on display. If someone wants to buy, let them buy. It's like a vending machine. And it works. And I'm not here to speak poorly about e-commerce. It's obviously working. It's obviously taking over, and it's obviously part of the future. But it works really well in specific categories. It doesn't work well across the board. So the more commoditized the product is, meaning if it's something I'm very familiar with, the more likely I am to be able to buy it through e-commerce. Diapers, tissue boxes, maybe a pair of shorts. I know this brand. Oh, the new iPhone's coming out, guys. So I'm very familiar with the iPhone. I watched all the YouTube videos about it. I watched all the reviews. I watched the keynote. I did all that stuff. I don't need someone to explain it to me anymore. I just want to go buy it at the lowest price now. That's where e-commerce really thrives. That's why Amazon and Noon and all these guys, their number one category year after year is electronics, consumer electronics, mobile phones. Because Huawei and Apple and Google do all the heavy lifting as to convincing the consumer that they want to buy those things. So that works well for e-commerce. That's spawned this this thing called cCommerce. What's cCommerce? Which means that it's like e-commerce, but right now if we wanted to buy, this speaker right here, we could go to a website and find it in Germany and order it and it'll arrive in 2 weeks. That's e-commerce. But if I want to order lunch and I want it delivered in the next 20 minutes, I'm only going to be shopping in the hyper-local vicinity or radius around me. And it's point-to-point delivery and last-mile focused and hyper-convenient. And that is known as cCommerce. So when you use Deliveroo or Talabat, are you doing e-commerce? It's kind of. You're doing more cCommerce. That's what that is. You're not going to order a croissant from France right now and expect it to be delivered for lunch. Then we entered this social commerce area. We spoke about that. What does that mean is, hold on, the new base layer, my new operating system, so to speak, for how I use the internet is now these social platforms. How do you do how do you buy stuff on that axis? Because what's interesting about that is because it's interactive again, because I may be interacting with a brand or an individual on the other side of that, it's almost like we've been brought back to the face-to-face era. It's the renaissance so it's not surprising when you hear social commerce is growing X amount and whatever. It's not surprising at all because that's the only way business got done for thousands of years anyway, for millions of years. So the only difference today is now I have a phone and the customer has a phone. We're not in the same place anymore, but we're together in real time. That's basically what cCommerce is. That's the connected commerce experience. I'm going to use this analogy and you guys are going to make fun of me, which is, who's familiar with the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Why are you laughing? You know it?
No, but it's okay.
Okay, so Goldilocks and the Three Bears is a fairy tale. It's a bedtime story that children are told. There's some metaphor behind it, which I don't really understand, but there's some part of the story about Goldilocks gets lost in the woods. She finds an uninhabited house, and she seeks refuge in that house, and when she enters, there's 3 people who normally live in that house, but they're not there at the moment, and there's 3 bowls of porridge on the table that have been prepared. And one of them belongs to the father bear, and one of them belongs to the mother bear, and one of them belongs to the baby bear. And one of those porridges she tastes, and it's way too hot, it burns her mouth, which is the father's. He likes eating it hot. And the baby's porridge is too cold, and so it's not tolerable for her, it's not enjoyable. But the mother's porridge is the right temperature, and then that's the one she eats. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you think about it, email and e-commerce are too cold. And phone calls as a sales channel, it's too hot. And this chat messaging axis is just the right temperature for me as a consumer to feel comfortable. Because why? Because I can put my phone down, it's not too intrusive. Like someone could be messaging, I could be talking to a business on it. It's more convenient. I don't have to take a phone call. Imagine I received an email and I didn't see it, so this channel, this messaging thing that we use so often as a business to consumer or even a B2B is just right. So the consumer psychology right now has decided that it likes that. Just like Goldilocks decided, she tried all of them and that's the one she likes. Make sense? All right. So the solutions we build are inspired by the idea that people want to be connected when they do business in real time, but there are very little tools available or at their disposal to help accelerate or enhance that type of commerce experience. And so we build tools that do that thing. Do you guys notice here in this image behind the phones, the shadows of the phones are two human faces? It's a human-to-human experience, even if you're on the phone. Cool? Any questions so far or anything? All right. So the scary part is, as going back to being, like, how do you build a business out of that? What we're really proud of is that when we started building this business, there was no playbook, there was no blueprint that said, look at this very successful cCommerce company, let's just emulate them and do what they do. Like today, if you want to start most businesses, especially e-commerce, like it's been done before. So when you think about, we're going to start a food delivery company. Did you guys see what they did in Europe or this company in the US? Let's copy that and build it for the Middle East or build it for this market that's underserved. There are usually playbooks involved, right? And then investors get comfortable because they're like, that should probably work because it worked in Germany or it worked in the US, so makes sense. In our case, the bad part was we didn't have a playbook, like there was no one for us to copy. So we had to start defining things ourselves and think about how do you build such a business. And we started with what does it mean to the business owner and what are the factors that matter most to them and how do we serve them the best. So we built our own framework for that, which is built on 4 pillars. How can we help businesses capture more orders? How can we help them accept payments? How can we help them sell more than they're currently capable of doing? And lastly, how do they track everything? Because what's the use of all that if you can't keep an eye on it? So almost all the features and products and all the things we build are mapped to one of these things. That's 14 million lines of code. So let's go through it one by one. When we talk about capturing orders, you guys are all welcome to download the app and try this yourself, but the idea is I'm on WhatsApp with the customer and they've determined that they want to buy that, we've agreed to the terms of a sale. How do you then close that transaction? Like, have you guys ever talked to a business or talked to a small business or done any sort of figured something out on WhatsApp whereby maybe you called these guys to come clean your air ducts and they have a WhatsApp number and you message them and then you're like, what time can you guys come? And they say, we'll be there on Saturday. And you're like, okay, how many rooms do you have? And you kind of figure out, you do the back and forth. And okay, how can I pay for this? Like, oh, there's cash on delivery. Or, oh, go to the bank and do a bank transfer. Or, but that's an unpleasant way to kind of, it's like a very anticlimactic way to end that interaction. So what this is representing is, how about we create the ability to create what we call a checkout card, ad hoc. It's just like an invoice on the fly, where I could create an amount for anything, create a product, create a short description. I create a quick, I'm doing this for the customer. I create a little basket for them, and I WhatsApp it to them. When they get that WhatsApp, they get something like this. When you share that, they get something, we call that a checkout card. All right? So, okay, we've agreed to this, and you can click that, and it takes you to a page where you can do Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amex, you name it. That's how to capture an order, basically, you as a business. You guys are smart, and so you're going to say, yeah, but you have to do that manually every time? How does that scale? Were you thinking that? Is that what you were thinking? Okay. So this is done on the individual basis of that order. All right? It's not designed with bots. Have you guys ever had an experience with a chat bot that you enjoyed? You have?
Yes, yesterday.
Okay, tell us about it.
It was with Emirates Post.
Okay.
And they said that I had something available to pick up, or they'll deliver to me. Choose an option, and then ask me to drop the pin. I mean, it was pretty.
So there are some use cases for that, but if you want to get something a little more complex than that resolved, all this talk you hear about chatbots and bots and automation and AI, no offense, it's not there yet. It's not really working. It's not a pleasant experience. Consumers don't like it. Would you guys prefer to shop that way? Honestly? So this is powered by the human experience. You know, like someone's going to create an order for you, talk to you in real time, have a real dialogue with you, and then send this card for checkout. We have 6,000 businesses in the region using this service today. Some of you may have seen it. Now, we've designed a system where, do you know when you go to buy something online and then it's like, oh cool, we've added this to your cart and now go ahead and check out. Oh, wait a minute, you don't have an account with us. Can you create an account? And then go verify your email and do all that. So we bypass a lot of that stuff and we go, we allow, it's almost always guest checkout. We don't try it. So we make it as frictionless as possible for you to capture that sale. When we capture a sale, it's reflected in your wallet, and you can take that balance into your bank account at your discretion. But it's held in the wallet until you request it. Any questions on that so far?
So you don't collect customer information?
We collect customer information, but it's not an authentication like enter your password, create an ID, stuff like that. It's just what you need to perform a credible checkout, like name, phone number, email address, and location if needed.
So what's the behind-the-scenes system that the customer can trust? So if I tell them, hey, send money on to this app and they don't know the app or something,
Yeah.
it might be like, oh, I don't trust putting my credit card information. What's the thing that makes people trust?
Well, that's a good question, right? So if you've been interacting with this business or like you as a customer have been interacting with them, and you're going to do business with them, and you've decided to purchase from them, and they pull out a point of sale machine, you don't say, which system do you got there? You know, so like it's built on the trust of you and the merchant. It's their solution. This is how they accept payments. So that's part of it. And the other part of it is we work really hard to make sure that it's a super secure and stable experience. All right? And this is all PCI compliant, like it's as safe as experience. It's actually safer than bank transfers and sending your bank details back and forth, or agreeing to something and then having to go to the ATM and get cash. It seems like today that's common practice, at least in the GCC. Like, people know they can pay by card and they have their rights given to them at the time of checkout. Like, so they're opting in, the terms and conditions. So even the customer experience is in serious consideration for that. But when one of these is deployed, a checkout card, we see an 81% success rate to close. All right, so we don't see, that's over a sample size of like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So it's not a small sample size. This is a highly effective way to close a sale. It's actually a delightful experience.
What's that compared to e-commerce?
E-commerce, the typical e-commerce journey is traffic that's coming to your website, which is really painful and expensive to get in the first place. Typical e-commerce conversion rates are around 2%. So this is an unfair comparison, right? This is the customer's already agreed, and I'm going to send them the checkout card, and they just need to pay. So there you see an 81, 82% conversion rate. But if you are an e-commerce operator today, actually you can tell us that. What's a conversion rate, you think, average conversion rate?
Yeah, mine is a little bit higher than average. It's 5 to 6%.
That's good. And as you scale that up, meaning it just shrinks. And so it normalizes around 2%. Morning. Okay, so this idea of e-commerce solving everything and the whole world is going to be just e-commerce, right? It doesn't really add up. There's a lot of inefficiencies in that, right? And there's many reasons for that, but I think it speaks to that first one, which is, it's a completely it's not innate to people to buy that way, things that they're not familiar with. Without, like, do you go to the mall and just pick things off the shelf and check out yourself and leave? No, there's always someone there to guide you or assist you. But online doesn't have that. So your conversion rates will change dramatically. Cool, so any more questions on that? We recently launched this product. It's called Collections. And what that is if you think about yourself as a business today, it's very difficult, okay, to win over a customer. There's costs and money involved. Those are acquisition costs. And once you've won the customer and they're sitting in your database, you got to now think about, how do I get them to potentially buy again, right? Like, I worked so hard to get them, let's maximize this opportunity. And so the de facto channel is going to be like email marketing. So you get MailChimp or one of these services and then do your email campaigns, and you get excited and you put some time into that, and then you find out that you're getting about a 10% open rate. 10 out of the 100 people you sent this to are going to open it. Like, what? Like, we just missed out on 90. Like, so that's the plight of an online marketer's life, right? They're always trying to squeeze an extra. Like, what if we change the subject line and we put a fire symbol emoji in it? That will change up. You're always thinking about that because you're fighting against the tide. So we've developed this new solution whereby you can do that same concept of creating a campaign built around a single or multiple products, and then run that as a remarketing service over WhatsApp. What we're seeing is a 90% open rate. It's the inverse. And customers can then say, oh, cool. Like, let's use that channel that's still clean and where people are paying attention as a proper marketing channel. And you can create a collection for just one person. Sorry, what's your name? Sara. So let's say Sara messaged us and said, hey, I really am looking for some Nike trainers today. Right? Let's just say that's the scenario. I can open the phone and say, oh, let me put a collection together. And this collection is going to be called Sara's Picks. Okay? And I'll send it to her back on WhatsApp. And it becomes like a brochure where she sees all of our Nike shoes on WhatsApp. And then she's like, oh, cool, I like this one or don't like that one. So it's streamlining the way that business takes place on that channel. You have to do marketing, right? That's not really like a choice today, because how you do it is the question, right? If you have all these customers, if you started a business and you got 100 customers in your CRM now, what are you going to do? You know, like call them or message them and say, hey, you want to buy something? You know, you have to have so you create these, what we call like events or campaigns or sparks that give a good excuse for you to kind of re-engage those customers. So you could create a collection of, it's back to school time, you know, here's our latest offers. It's National Day coming up, it's what, you know, like, so that's your job as a marketer to re-engage and remarket. So this is a tool we've built for that, which is pretty interesting and exciting. Okay, so for those, okay, I want to address something. So everything I've talked about so far, how much time have I spent? Where are we? Are we okay on time? Time-wise, we're okay, Mita? All right. Everything I've talked about to this point is one-to-one commerce. Like, I have to actually put in some effort to create each incremental sale, right? And that's what small businesses do, and that's how they make a living, and that's how they thrive. Okay, so talk to your customers. It's okay. You're not too big or too good for that. Create personal bonds with your customers each and every time. It's okay. It's going to pay off. But when you start behaving like, I only want to scale, I'm only going to build these systems that are designed for ultra scalability, and I don't have a process to talk to all my customers, that's where things are going to start going wrong for you as a business. You're going to create more distance between you and the customer. They're only going to buy from you when they really have to. And so that's one side of it. The other side is, come on, Rami, like you're expecting me to put in work for every individual sale? But let me ask you guys something. The point of sale machine only serves one customer at a time. You don't go tap your card with 7 other customers at the same time, right? So like, it's more of a retail experience, is dealing with each customer one-to-one. But we do feel that there are ways where e-commerce plays a role, right? So if I've bought from the business once, I don't need to talk to you every time and create a whole back and forth dialogue. Can I just do what we call that a self-checkout? So on our platform, we have something called the C-Shop, which is how you build, where you host your product catalog. And this offers more typical e-commerce experience, where the customer can just go in, add to cart, and check out. And we play this very delicate game of optimizing the solution where both are open. So if you were to be on a Zbuni C-Shop, you'll see this button at the bottom that says chat to shop. Because any point in the journey, they may be looking at those shoes, but they're not sure. Click chat to shop and you're connected in real time to someone who can help you and walk you through that. If you don't need any help, continue through the checkout. So those are, you know, more modern ways of merging these two worlds together. So don't be scared that you that it doesn't scale because it does. But we have 5,000 businesses. 80% of our orders go through not self-checkout, go through one by one. Just so you guys know, the average order value on our platform is about $220. The average order value on e-commerce is about $80. And the reason for that is when you are doing business this way, you're more connected to the customer, you have a chance to upsell them, you have a chance to make them more reassured, that you can cross-sell them other things, you can upsell them, you get a chance to mold each customer journey uniquely, and they get more comfortable and they're more likely to spend more with you. So it's like a 2.3x factor of that. So I wouldn't ignore that.
What sectors are you planning to serve?
We serve 5 verticals: food and beverage, sports and fitness, education and training, what we call retail, and what we call e-commerce. E-commerce for us is a category that we have to serve. A lot of e-commerce businesses today are struggling. You know, don't be alarmed by that. A lot of people have set up e-commerce platforms and websites and all this stuff, but are still not breaking through and getting to their customer. So we come in and allow them to produce more sales using their infrastructure. Cool? Lastly, let's talk about analytics a little bit. Like, it's very difficult to imagine doing so much business over WhatsApp because how do you track what's going on and measure everything? And that's an important factor if you guys want to make good decisions in your business. You need good data and you need to be looking at that. So we created a framework for that too, where you're getting that data in real time. You can see your conversion rates, you can see who your top customers are, you can see how much they're spending, you can see what your average basket size is, you can see if you're growing week to week, you can see if you're shrinking, you can see when your busiest sales periods are, you can see when you should re-engage with some certain customer segments, all of that stuff. So that's essentially the suite of the product today. Do you guys want more details on any of that? So let's talk about who can use it. Yeah, questions? Mita had a good question earlier.
Yeah.
She was talking about B2B. So who's using Zbuni today? There's like almost a balance, but it turns out that close to 60% of our volume, processing volume, comes from service-based businesses. So are you guys familiar? I can mention them. Have you guys heard of SugarMoo? Yeah? SugarMoo? It's like a bakery. They do a lot of sweets, desserts, cakes, cupcakes, you name it. And they have a huge warehouse in Al Quoz, and they have another one in Iraq, and they have another one here and there, and they do a lot of B2B as well. So like they stock, you know, shelves like coffee shops and all that stuff. They're on Deliveroo, they're on their own website, they're on their own app, they're on all this stuff. But where they tend to have the best margin is on custom cakes. So you have an event, you need to customize your cake, right? Because it's got to say happy birthday, happy whatever. It's got to say, oh, you know, I'm having a birthday for my son and he loves Spider-Man. So I want to get him the Spider-Man cake. And I want it to have this theme because it's an inside joke, and I want it to have, I have some vegan guests that day, so I want this to be, this layer to be There's no way you can do that on Deliveroo. There's no way you can do that on any of those apps. It's like the permutations of certain orders are way too extreme or not bound by these like fixed constraints, so they can't take orders any other way. You have to get in touch with them, and then they'll send you the photo of the Spider-Man image that they like, and then they'll show you what it might look like, and you go back and forth, and they say, okay, here's your checkout card. Right? Can you deliver this by Friday at 3 p.m.? Like, the cCommerce platforms don't accommodate for any of that. So maybe I'm giving you an example that's still a physical good, but it's also a service because I have to customize the cake. So usually services tend to be more bespoke to what the customer needs. And so a lot of services end up using our platform to conduct their business because it gives them a little bit of flexibility. I can just create an invoice and share it over WhatsApp and the customer can pay. And I can make that order say, this is a special just for Saturday offer. It has a lot of flexibility in that.
How difficult is it for platforms like delivery to just add that? Maybe they're not doing that because it's not, the demand is not huge enough.
So that would presume that the person on the other end of the Deliveroo platform is actively receptive to creating custom orders and stuff like that, right?
At the same time, for this as well.
Yeah, but our customer is expecting that. That's the workflow that it's built for, and they're using it to create. They don't have to be on the other end. They're just on WhatsApp.
But like if the demand for this grows, what's stopping Deliveroo or all these existing platforms to add that to their app?
Good question. So one is, do you know the types of rates Deliveroo charges when you order lunch? They're taking about 25-30%, maybe sometimes 35% of every order. So if I'm a business owner, I only value Deliveroo if you can send me orders. And I don't have to do any work. Just send me the order and push it through. And so the reason they value our platform is because they earned the customer. The customer came to them, and I need a quick way to get them to check out. I don't want to send them back to Deliveroo. You didn't do it, you know what I mean? So they have some constraints in their business models and stuff like that. Deliveroo should be scared of us. Okay, so cool. Any other questions?
How much do you charge?
We charge a success rate. So that's an interesting part of our business is we don't have a setup fee, monthly fee, no recurring fees. We only take a percentage against what is successfully sold on the platform. And it starts at 3.5%. That's our rate. But that includes the payment processing. And if you think about all the value you're getting and all the technology and suite that you're getting, it's actually a super bargain. Like we should probably raise the prices, but just this idea of managing payments. Like, has anyone in the room or outside tried to set up an e-commerce website? You did, right? Did you get a payment gateway? Can you talk us through that? What happened? How did you set it up?
So we have Stripe payment gateway,
Okay.
and it's a developer who set it up. So, but it's very easy. It was done in a day.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Okay, so Stripe came in and made things a lot easier. When did you do it? Like more than 6 months ago?
It's almost a year.
Try signing up for Stripe now. The typical experience is, oh great, you're starting a small business or you're starting a new business? Lovely. I'm going to go sidetrack a little bit, talk about credit card processing. Is that okay? Do you guys understand how credit card processing works in general? You guys want to do a quick crash course on that? All right, cool. In your pockets right now, you have a credit card or a debit card, correct? Safe? It might be virtual now on your phone. There's a logo on that. It says Visa, MasterCard, but there's also your bank's name on that card. So Emirates NBD or something like that. That is called the issuing bank, which is the bank that will issue the card that can be used to make transactions at Visa, MasterCard terminals. When you go to Starbucks and they bring out the card machine and you tap the machine and you hear the beep and then you get a message, what's actually happened is the issuing bank has made some form of communication with the acquiring bank. So the other side of the consumer is the merchant, and the merchant doesn't have cards like we have. They're acquiring transactions. That's the acquiring bank. The acquiring bank doesn't let anybody. You have to be vetted properly if you're going to be accepting payments, because Visa and MasterCard have strict rules. And what's actually happening is money never left your account and went to Starbucks' account in that moment. They said, hey, does Rami have 20 dirham in his account right now? And they're saying, yeah, looks like it's okay. So Starbucks' bank is saying, we're going to honor this transaction. We'll credit Starbucks' account 20 dirham in today's batch. And then between my bank and Starbucks' bank, in a few days, they do a settlement, because they might have a lot of transactions. They're not going to move money every time, 20 dirham, 20 dirham, every time. So they do their own credit system, right? Like, okay, yeah, we'll honor this transaction. So for acquiring banks, there's a lot of scrutiny, because I'm lending the merchant money every time they have someone. Do you follow what I'm saying? So they're like, we can't give acquiring services to everyone. We want to see certain parameters in place that allow us to honor your transactions that are coming to you. So we'd be most comfortable if you had 2 years audited financial history before you can set up with us. Like, what are you talking about? I just barely got a trade license. And they're like, you have a business bank account, right? And you're like, no, the bank said I couldn't open one yet because I have. So we're faced with this dilemma where the acquiring banks in most emerging markets are not equipped to do the proper vetting on newly established businesses and understand if they're going to fulfill their KYC requirements and compliance requirements. So they don't make a whole lot of money on on that service. So it's almost like, let's just not do that. Small business is risky. Why? Because if I did get a chargeback, like if it turns out that a week later said, I didn't buy this Starbucks drink, I want my 20 dirham back, then the acquiring bank has to dispute it, and they have to go through arbitration and do all this stupid stuff. So they really only want to work with accounts that have high volume and that do a lot of business and are highly profitable for them. Typically, the effort involved in supporting a small business doesn't give them the ROI that they need, so they kind of like just shun the small business community. And it makes it very difficult for them to start accepting payments. Don't take that personally. That's just the way the system is designed. So one of the value propositions of our solution is that we said, hey, Mr. Bank, we're going to be accepting the transactions. We give us the acquiring rights, okay? And we'll take liability for these people. And now we have a lot of volume. Now we have an economy of scale, so the bank takes us seriously because we have 5,000 merchants behind us. And you don't need to vet every one of those merchants yourself because you're not going to do a good job of that anyway, and you don't have the systems to do that. We'll do it. So when you sign up for Zbooni, I'm not just saying, hey, do you want to use our technology? I'm also saying, if you want to use our payment service, I need to vet you and get to know you as a business owner. So what's interesting about this is you can start accepting we act as the merchant of record. Do you know when you go on Amazon and you buy something and then you get the SMS, you just spent X at Amazon? Even though you bought it from a third-party seller, that's not what it says on your statement. It just says Amazon. Amazon is the merchant of record. It's representing that seller. It takes the money on behalf of that seller and distributes back to that seller. That's our model. So when people join Zbooni, we're acting as the merchant of record on their behalf. The upside of that for you as a merchant is huge because I don't need to deal with any of the headaches involved with getting the bank to approve me and give me a terminal. And I don't need to hire a developer to do this for me. It's embedded into the solution. So we crafted this entire experience accordingly. So when you sign up, I'll give you guys some secrets since you're kind enough to come here today, spend time. We have a lot of, yes?
So how much vetting and how much time do you need to vet the different businesses that are getting on that? Because you're basically your...
We're putting our neck on the line, yeah.
And how soon that payment is our accounts that we work?
So generally, when we, okay, so 2 questions there, right? How do we vet, all right? So we use a system of semi-automation and manual oversight. So when you sign up for Zbuni, let's go back. When you sign up for Zbuni, I'm going to tell you the secrets now. When you create your product catalog, and it says that this bikini is 620 dirham, that isn't going into the ether, it's going into a database. And now we have millions of products in our database. And I could say that a bikini should typically cost between 80 dirham up to 750 dirham. That's our normal. Now you're going to get excited because this is AI stuff a little bit. So we use some machine learning to understand what our normal range is and when something's really outside of a standard deviation that causes some. So when you sign up for Zbuni and you say, hey, I sell furniture, I'm based in Ajman. We say, okay, cool, we believe you. Go ahead. And they say, okay, I'm gonna put my product here. It's gonna be called Black Couch, and I'm selling it for 5,000 dirhams. All right. I'm gonna send the invoice for that to the customer, and all along the way, this is all being heavily monitored for safety and security. And it turns out that someone in Canada, based on the IP address of your buyer and a phone number and physical location of Canada, IP-wise, is trying to buy this couch from the UAE. That's weird. And it was a failed attempt. And then 3 minutes later, it tried again. Someone tried to buy the black couch again, but with a different card type and different card holder name. And then again, within 7 minutes, they tried 12 cards, and then one of them worked. And then that transaction bought 5 more things. So that's fraud detection. That's anomaly detection that gets immediately flagged. You following?
How is this vetting the merchant?
This is how we vet the merchant. You're vetting them based on how they interact with their customers, how their customers behave. Do these things make sense together? If one day you said general item for $10,000, that's out of sync with what you said you do as a seller. If you said you're selling couches, your customers would probably be in the UAE only, and you should be having more local cards. And you should be, and then when the transaction does go through, sorry to tell you guys this, we do a verification call to the customer. We say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. whatever, we noticed you recently made a purchase on Zbuni. And they're like, what? Like, yeah, do you purchase the black couch? And they're like, yeah, I did actually. You know, like, yeah, you're right, I did. That goes into a credit score for the merchant. We can't not do that, right? Like, we take all the liability, so we have a lot of processes around how we're protecting the consumer and ourselves. And then remember, because the money has gone not into their account yet, we're the merchant of record, so it's held in an escrow. So if at that point we feel that this business is doing some funny games, we say, thank you, we cannot no longer support your business, refund all the transactions, and reverse everything. Terminate account. That happens very rarely because we do a lot of manual vetting up front. So we would do some social proof, we look for location, we do a site visit, we do social proofing. We do social proofing. So if you sign up for Zbooni and you're like, yeah, I do so-and-so, it's like, okay, we have a team that's actually looking for you online. Is it matching the way you signed up? So there's a lot of manual oversight and intervention. Then we get a typical sales cycle is by the time we get the money from the bank, it's been probably 2-3 days, sometimes 4 days. And then for consumer protection, because in the UAE especially, you have some consumer protection rights, that they have a right to refund or exchange within 7 days. So we hold the payout for 7 days. After 7 days, you can issue the payout if there's no request from the customer. So it's a 7-day payment term. But for merchants that have been on our platform for they've done many payouts and they've never had a single customer complaint, and their data is, and you can tell they're good actors and they're not running, we qualify them. We give them accelerated sort of benefits on the platform, like we can shorten your payout cycle to 3 days or whatever and stuff like that. So there's a whole system for that. Make sense?
That bakery that you mentioned, how does the customer first interact with the Zbooni platform? They go to the website?
The customer doesn't interact with the Zbooni platform until the merchant initiates it. So they might be on they might be on WhatsApp with the merchant because the merchant put their WhatsApp logo on the website or in their social bio, and when they start messaging them, inquiring about the cake or service, or then it's invoked by the merchant when they send either a catalog or a checkout link. And then me as a consumer, I've now learned about this thing called Zbooni, and then I learned that they have a C shop where I can come back and shop there directly. So that's the mechanisms behind that. How much time do we have?
However long you need.
Well, I mean, I don't want to just talk endlessly. Okay. All right. So, any questions? Do you get questions from YouTube or anything?
Sometimes, but
Not right now. We've answered everything so thoroughly, we have no questions. Okay, cool. Any other questions? It doesn't have to be about this. It can be, you can ask me stuff like, if you're here today, do you want to just learn generic stuff? Because we can do that. Or if you have a specific thing in mind you want to ask about. My background is, I've been through a lot of the motions of starting a business, raising capital for it, dealing with investors, building teams, building tech. So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask. What do you guys think so far? Do you think that in 5 years from now, people will still be using WhatsApp like they do today?
That's what I was actually going to ask. Because back in 2005, 2006, I used to check all my mails for promotions. Because I used to just get maybe 10 a day, 5 a day. But now we get hundreds, if not thousands a day. Tomorrow, everybody starts doing cCommerce. And WhatsApp is flooded with 50 promotion messages. Either WhatsApp has to put a separate section for businesses, where they just, folders, or the open rate will become 10%, just like it's being open, right?
Correct. What do you think will happen then?
Either WhatsApp has to evolve, or there's something new and businesses will evolve.
What would that something new be? What could it be? Another app, messaging app? And that just does what WhatsApp does today, but
Maybe it's WhatsApp or a different version of it. It's easy on the iPhone.
I don't know the answer to this. I'm just asking what you guys think. Sada, what kind of business are you in? What kind of business are you in?
I'm considering a pivot to digital marketing.
Okay.
That's why I'm here today.
Okay, got it. Have you ever used WhatsApp as a marketing channel? Have you thought about it? Are you thinking about it now?
Thinking in terms of what to use this for business?
Yeah.
I don't have any business.
No, but if you're going to do marketing today, is that
What do you mean?
as a marketing channel?
Yeah, I think it gives more personal experience. I believe now. But for the future, I'm not sure. As I said, maybe
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good to have a new application for enrollment.
What kind of business are you? What's your story?
So we do e-commerce, Amazon, Noon, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But there's another idea, which is one-of-a-kind original paintings. So my mom paints.
Yeah, cool.
We can sell those. So we need a different platform than Amazon and Noon because those don't really work for one-of-a-kind items.
Right.
So that's where like this kind of thing comes in.
Yeah, cool.
So
That's really cool.
Primarily thinking about this for the painting,
Is-
not for the e-commerce.
Okay, nice. And tell us about those paintings.
It's
They're made out here.
yeah, they're made here. It's acrylic, so fluid art. Do you know fluid art?
No, tell us.
It's I don't know how to describe it. It's like abstract art
Cool.
that's made primarily with well, she uses acrylic paints. So she makes the ones that will probably sell for a good amount of money are like the 1.2 meter or 1 meter by 1 meter. So they're like pretty big paintings that are like original acrylic paints.
That's super awesome.
abstract, basically.
And I guess that's on social media, right?
Still haven't set up anything.
You
Just
haven't?
making this stuff, well, I'm still.
Oh, you're supposed to do all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm working on the other e-commerce stuff, but like Amazon and New, and I'm like, just wait, let me finish that first.
Okay, got it. Cool, guys. Mita, anything else you think we should talk about? Yes, go ahead, sir.
How would we practice the now Web3 crypto and connecting down this platform to the Ethereum and the news of its
Yeah, we've definitely had to stop and think about that a lot. I can't tell the difference between, like hype around crypto as a payment method and if that's really a demand. Do you see what I'm saying?
now with the newer generation coming down in the picture and learning more about crypto and the amount of marketing which crypto ways are doing. And then the Web3 which is coming down, you are owning your own stuff and selling it out. That will become a norm another 10 years. I'm not asking for it, but to be aware of that.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a platform where we can practice, where we can make us alive. It will not for a benefit, but it is to start that we are also having that payment mode available.
Look, we've had a lot of like crypto payment related companies approach us and say, we can facilitate your crypto payments, but we've never heard from a customer that says, hey, I would prefer to pay with crypto. Because most of them are speculators and they're not using it as a true cash alternative or true currency alternative. They're using it as more of a store of value. So when we see that demand and it becomes palpable, yeah, at that point you can turn on crypto payments and it'll be normalized. Yeah.
Your platform that you use for your connected commerce, what are the different platforms that you use on it?
Well, I mean, what do we integrate with? Or what do we use? So the technology stack we've built is all like native, like we've built it all in-house. We do integrations in a couple ways. One, we have a Shopify integration. So if you have a Shopify store today, we can synchronize your product catalog, we can synchronize your sales activity and all that stuff. If it's not Shopify, we use something called webhooks. You know what webhooks are? Can you tell everyone what a webhook is?
Webhook is like a URL they create where customers can look at the catalog and interact with it, look at product information.
No, well, what we mean by webhook is it's kind of like an API. So if you have a system, we can say, if you sold an item on Zboonie, tell my accounting system that one was sold on Zboonie. So we do integrations like that. We also work with a company called Zapier. Have you guys heard of that? So there's a lot of automation. So for example, if someone wanted to book this room for tomorrow at 5 p.m., they could book when they make the booking, it triggers a WhatsApp to be sent with the payment link. Things like that. So those are the integrations we do for a lot of businesses today, which are quite helpful for many of their workflows. So we tend to find workflows and that are in demand and then build for those. So we do some bespoke stuff as well. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have Shopify? Oh, I have a secret to show you then. You guys like secrets? All right, cool. I'll show you guys something today, but don't tell anyone about this. All right, we're going to start a new presentation, guys. All right, so everything I described to you today is about Zboonie as the main app. We've recently, actually it's not available to the public yet, we've created a new product. Still, it's like the cousin of Zboonie. It's called cCart. And cCart is, for those of you guys that are doing e-commerce already, you're really going to relate to this. So cCart is back to this again, right? So a lot of people doing e-commerce today, they are working really hard and spending money to bring traffic to their site, and you all know that. And we talked about that conversion rates hovering around 2%. You're doing 5 to 6%, which is good, but I don't know, that may not last forever. And the reality is that most people going to your website today, on your Shopify store, when they add an item to the cart, there's a 75% chance that they're going to abandon the checkout. They won't complete the checkout. Does that sound about right? And again, you're going to think of all these ways that you can improve that, and we're going to get 5% better conversion rates if we implement this 3-part plan. Like, you're really trying to squeeze any value out of that. But you can't really do anything about that. There's a lot of abandoned carts. In fact, it's such a big problem for the e-commerce world, and such a ubiquitous problem, that there are companies that just try and help you recover abandoned carts. Right? There's like something called Klaviyo, or something called, there's these services that do automated. When you go to like Emirates Airline and you search for a flight, and then an hour later, but you don't book it, and then an hour later it's like, hey, are you still thinking about going to London? It's like, it's trying to bring you back using email. Those are typically called abandoned cart recovery emails. It's familiar to you, right? So there's like even a system for how to do abandoned cart recovery. So it'll be like, send email 1 with reminder. Then after 24 hours, send reminder with 5% discount. Then email 3 is send with 10% discount. And then email 4 is send with 10% discount and limited time left to avail the discount. These are all automation journeys that are triggered by some system that you set up that's trying to recover those carts. But because they're predicated on email, they have terrible opening rates. So usually when those emails go out, do you open them? Or you're like, oh, look at these guys, they're so desperate. All right, that's what you're thinking. And then, I wonder what they're going to email me next. So at best, you're going to be recovering about if you're in e-commerce, you can recover about less than 5% of those abandoned carts. So if we lost 100 abandoned carts today, maybe we'll get 4 or 5 back. And so our thesis here is that recovery by email is broken. So with cCart, it's a plugin for Shopify that reinvents how you do abandoned cart recovery. And the way it works is through one-to-one messaging. Let me skip to this one. So we have a plugin that will integrate with your Shopify store. It's going to extract all the abandoned cart data, customer information, product information, and etc. And it starts to filter that based on certain parameters. And what it's looking for is, in case you have thousands of abandoned carts, we want to help you find the most relevant ones that are most susceptible to coming back and purchasing based on different criteria. And then we queue those for you so that you can go back and try and sell to them one-to-one. So the way that looks is, when you open this app, the cCart app, it shows you who was on, it's morphed it into like Tinder, where it's going to be like, okay, these are the people who are on your site, this is their criteria, this is how long ago it was abandoned, this is the items in the cart, this is the cart value. I can sort, I can filter based, I could say I only want to see carts above 500 dirham, right? Then it tells me what's in their basket at that moment. I press start conversation, and it pre-populates a message that you select. So you create personalized outbound messages. And when you press WhatsApp, it sends that to the customer. What's your name? Reem? Oh my God, you're like our example here. Okay, so it'll say, this is Reem. I noticed you were on our website earlier today and you were looking at these items. Is there something I can help you with? And the customer is going to be like, that's kind of cool. Like, is this a real person? Did this brand just dare to talk to me as a normal person? Like, it's not a bot? Yeah, I can provide for you some personal shopping experience today. If you have any questions, let me know. So when you take the customer into that channel, we can apply a lot of that same thing applies. So then they say, okay, you know what? I wish I could do this demo for you guys. We have something I want to show you guys. How do I show you without putting on the screen? But effectively the cart, the way that it's managed, is in real time. So if I edit the cart, it allows me to provide discounts. It allows me to upsell, cross-sell. Hey, I know you were looking at this, so you modify this for the customer, and then when they're comfortable and ready, then they check out. Are you interested in that solution? Are you interested in trying that?
Is this only for Shopify or can it be done for any other e-commerce site?
It's a plug and play right now for Shopify, but if it's WordPress is not, we'd have to customize that.
Does Shopify already have some extensions which do it for like time usage and
No, I mean, yes and no. So there are some ways, there's tons of abandoned cart recovery tools, but they're all built around an automation. So it kind of like is just a continuation of the e-commerce coldness, whereas this is actually flipping it into like a personalized, like the utmost personalized thing, which is, because if you are on, here's the big problem with omni-channel commerce. It's like, if we go to Go Sport website today and we're looking at a treadmill, but we're not sure because it's big and like, I don't know if maybe this is going to go on sale for Black Friday. Maybe I'm not going to buy it today. I abandon the cart. For the gosport.com experience. The e-commerce manager of GoSport is like, damn it, how are we going to get this customer back? Let's, so they have a scheme where they're going to send you emails and some discount. At the same moment, the GoSport retail team is hanging out in the store, waiting for the next customer to come in and inquire about a treadmill. Do you follow me? So We're taking the interest that's generated, or the intent that's generated from the e-commerce experience, and connecting that with a pipe, and then the sales associates at GoSport have this app, and it shows them, oh, he was looking at the treadmill. So the message goes out, hey, I'm Rami from the Dubai Mall location, because I know where the customer lives. If you're interested in checking out the treadmill today, come on down. By the way, we have a 6% discount today. So it's about connecting those experiences, driving the most value out of the assets that are already in play for the organization. Are you interested in that for Shopify? Okay. Okay, I'll give you my contact if I'll follow up with you on that. Yes.
What is the minimum amount of capital I need to start this business? For example, I'm a business owner for something. What is the minimum amount I need to start myself to be on board?
For you as a business owner?
Yes.
We don't have a minimum, right? We don't have any setup fees. There's no minimum anything. Like, we're here to actually enable you to sell more. But you'd probably have to go get a trade license. You'd have to be a legitimate business for us to identify and pass KYC if you want us to accept payments on you.
After that, what is my investment, or what would be
3.5% of your sales.
or anything? What I said is, for example, I want to sell my hours. I myself might be a trainer who is training out something on number of hours on weekends. Hey, I want to sell those hours to people, saying that if you want this training, you can click over here,
Correct.
give a payment so that you can get this. So
Correct.
I'm a freelancer trading like this.
Works.
I just need to be on board on this one. So
You can download the app right now.
Okay, great.
One of our account managers should message you, and we'll get you set up. You'll be up in 20 minutes.
Next question is, if there is nothing. So on the platform, what do you use? How do you observe this? When you talk about observability of your platform and the customer experience and like end user experience.
Like
I'm
what?
talking technology.
Yeah.
Means
We use everything. I mean, we have custom events that are built in our app, on our website, everything from Hotjar on the website down to different triggers in the app. We use Metabase a lot as like a visualization tool. We have a data lake, which is kind of like where all the data is dumped. Not AWS. Yeah.
And when it comes down to observation, it is all your internal customized stuff or any native solution like Datadog and Trace.
We have an ERP or a CRM. We use Microsoft Dynamics, but that's kind of to keep track of certain customer. Yeah.
When it comes down to monitoring of your own apps, saying that whether it is working fine or not.
We use something called Grafana. Yeah. But it also helps you track, like, when we made this update into the app, these statistics across our universe.
Which I'm getting plotted over there.
Yeah.
Alerting means you have your operations team which monitors it, or is it about seamlessly? You don't need that. Is it in a agile concept that things are stable, or there are chances when it shoots up and your app goes down? Anything like that?
Very rarely that would happen.
All Docker container based or full monolithic platform?
Docker.
Docker?
Yeah. We just recently switched. It was very painful, by the way. Yeah. It took us like 8 months to do that project.
So which platform? Azure, AWS?
AWS.
Everything.
Yeah.
Seamless experience?
Yeah.
or-
Kubernetes. Yeah. Seamless?
That's what the question is.
Yeah. But yeah, we put a lot of focus on that infrastructure.
Connected to multiple gateways of AWS, OCI,
Yeah.
gateways, network, or
S3.
No,
Yeah.
that's about technology. I'm talking about gateways. How you are giving your customers the option. Which gateways are integrated?
We only have one. You mean hosting?
Stripe is one of the gateways.
Oh, you mean payment gateways? Oh, we have a total of, we have 4 different payment gateways that are connected to 16 different payment methods.
16 of them.
Yeah. That's another,
Yeah,
Mi-
because that charge is that comes with charge if you attend.
so, question?
Once the Windows solution is implemented, what type of weight does this issue see? There's an average in terms of business growth.
So good question. What we typically see is like from a month to, like if you started using Zbooni in January, by December, your sales volume will increase year on year by about 30%, okay? That's an average. Some people are up to 160% or whatever. So it really depends on the business type. I don't want to give a blanket number, but it depends on because a lot of business is lost at the last mile, and so this is really helping you capture that. And these solutions that are helping uplift your sales, like remarketing solutions, almost give like a 20% boost to sales. There was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, you mentioned Stripe earlier as a payment gateway. When I say the pricing is 3.5%, that sounds like more than a payment gateway should cost, right? Why? 3.5. You're paying 2.5. Okay, I don't want to. So these payment companies, these like big ones that are these evil overlord payment companies, Stripe and I don't know, Square and Shopify, any large payment company, every payment company is notorious in showing you this sticker price that says 2.5% or 2.79%. That's a sticker like shock price. That's what gets you to believe that that's how much it costs. But then what they hide is the per transaction fee. So it could be 30 fils or one dirham. It could be, oh, did you want to accept international cards? That's going to cost 3.8% per transaction. Oh, you wanted your security levels to be at the highest grade? That's an extra monthly fee. Oh, and by the way, sorry, we have this other whatever management fee. So when you actually get your statement and you reverse engineer it, what it actually shows is that you're paying about 4.8, 4.9% per transaction. And so we didn't really choose, like we don't have time to do that. So we just said, you know what, let's just charge 3.5%. It's clear, it's transparent, there's no hidden fees. You know exactly what the actual cost is, you have peace of mind. And so a lot of people perceive it as being more expensive. This is now a marketing science thing. Whereas it's actually the cheapest possible option for all the services you're getting and all the software you're getting, we're not charging for it.
Is there any minimum
And by the way, do you know what your Stripe acceptance rate is? It's like 4. Yeah, and that's about 50%, sorry, 50% success rate. So 50% of the attempts are actually going through. Why did this thing turn off? Yeah. There we are. Was there another question? Yeah.
How fast is Zbooni growing? How fast is it growing?
Depends on the market. In Jordan, we grew 147% month on month last month. In Egypt, we grew about 67% month on month. So we tend to measure the growth in months now. But I can tell you guys, some of that information is, I guess, proprietary, like I should not talk about. But, when we started the business, we did our first transaction was 2,000 dirham. And we were like, oh my God, it worked. And then my CTO was like, you sure that's not like an accident? They actually added an extra 0 or something? And that first year we were in business, we did $350,000 of sales through the platform. The next year was $3.6 million. The next year was $18 million. Yeah, and we did get funded as well. So, knock on wood, it's like we're very fortunate to be in a position that we can serve. It's very awkward because a lot of people don't know the solution exists or don't know they might need it or whatever. Like, we're in a position where we still have to educate the market about the usefulness of it, and it's very early in the journey, but we have proven that there's a business here, right? And now, the challenge is turning that into going from a startup to kind of like a well-established business that doesn't need funding rounds, and it's just kind of like self-sustainable. So that's where we are now in the journey.
Are you already beyond the early?
Well, we're still making investments today in certain markets that we hope pay off sooner than later, but yeah, we're still in that growth phase.
But it's driven basically by the WhatsApp business. Like, you're establishing a new channel for the businesses to communicate with their customers, and payment and everything, which is great and value.
Yeah.
Essentially help them not.
We help them with their commerce workflows using messaging channels. That's what it is.
So you do what e-commerce does in a more personalized way, minus the discovery, right? You don't help them discover. You only facilitate the conversion and then the transaction.
Right.
You don't discover.
What do you? Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. We no, but recently we've introduced more discovery tools, like the C shop. Yeah,
Shift to marketplace.
yeah. Yeah, maybe.
You can charge a bigger percentage.
We have to. Yeah. Maybe.
For B2B business, for example, so for example, for people who are consultants, how would we be able to use this and tailor-make it according to the different consultants?
So I would say that the most common denominator here is, does your client, whether it's B2C or B2B, does the payee want to pay by card? Or do they have some sort of constraint that it has to be bank transfer? What we're seeing is that a lot of B2B has shifted to card payments because that's some good loyalty points and benefits from paying by card. So why am I going to do a bank transfer? Why don't I pay by card, and then I'll get the Sky Miles or the cash back or these different rewards. So whenever you see that the client has a willingness to pay by card or preference to do it that way, this is applicable. Because each order is accompanied with a full-blown invoice and receipt and a clear transaction, your VAT number, their VAT number, so you can get to that level of transaction. It's fine. We've had orders on the system, a single order, for 237,000 dirham. One basket. So the misconception is this is for small business that will do tiny orders. In fact, it's the opposite. This is the more intimate, trusted channel, and we can help close the transactions on that channel. It was actually for, something related to that. It was basically people want to do holidays in Dubai and they want to rent a villa for 3-4 months, and it works like that. But we have all kinds of categories, high spend categories. Things that you can't sell on Amazon or Noon. There are permutations for that. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cool. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me here.